This is Aaron at Power Popaholic, and I have with me today Glenn Burtnick and Bob Berger, the principal songwriters of the Weeklings. How you doing today, guys?
Hey, doing great, thanks.
Great.
Cool.
Well, we're here today to talk about your newest CD that came out, your newest albums, Raspberry Park.
Looks great.
Yeah, it's a great album, nice little album. I listened to it, for a few days, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it definitely shows growth within the band, beyond just simply, being a Beatles cover or interpretive Beatles cover band.
We
And
are, we're a little older. Yes.
yeah.
Right. Yes.
A little older, a little experienced. I really like some. I'll go over a few of the songs that and you can tell me a little bit about how they came about. I really liked Brian Jones. That song, it's got like that, the beat goes on bass line, and it's got a nice change of pace from the usual Beatlesque stuff. How did that song originate? How did you come up with that one?
That's Zeke's. That's
Well,
Zeke's
the,
project.
the fact is, I mean, Glenn and I had talked about Brian Jones over the years and how he was really one of the driving force behind the early Stones, and so I just picked up on that conversation and turned it into a song.
Awesome. I like the arrangements also, particularly even though you have quite a few originals here. There still are some Beatles covers. However, what I loved about these covers is the arrangements and the interpretations of these covers are much different. They're completely original arrangements. And and I want to know, was there any sort of inspiration to them, or is it just saying, well, we want something that sounds more like the Weeklings and less like the Beatles?
Well, yeah,
How does
I,
that work?
I think it's developed over time. When we first got together, we in the very beginning, we were doing Beatle covers before we had a record deal,
Right.
and then Zeke, also known as Bob, suggested, well, let's write some songs that, kind of sound like the '60s, and maybe even Beatles-ish,
Right.
So we kind of started there, but here we are, 4 albums later. I think this is our fourth studio.
Fourth, yeah,
Yeah, if
fourth
you don't count the live
studio.
album,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
our fourth studio album. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're just developing. And what I've found for me is that it's a great creative outlet. We're creative people, and just being a cover band, that ain't doing it for us. And I think that our audience has come along with us, and it's growing, and people get
Yeah.
that there's more to our creativity than just trying to sound like these perfect records that you can't outdo.
Right.
In terms of the Beatles, you're just not going to beat them. And however, there is this creative outlet. I was thinking about Jeff Beck the other day, how he did "She's a Woman" with George Martin, and
Right.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
so this is kind of what we've grown into. At least when we do covers, we try to make it our own usually.
Oh yeah, it's the two covers I think you have here. I've just seen a face, and She's Leaving Home are definitely, you own those. Those are Weeklings covers. Those are not regular Beatles covers, as I would say. And what I also love, my favorite song on the album, I'll tell you right away, is probably something you'll love, "All the Cash in the World," which is almost like an epitaph for the whole band, like how much fun you guys are having and how you wouldn't give it up no matter how famous you got or no matter what would happen. I think that's a great song, well written, well performed. Really enjoyed that one for sure. But the one I'm curious about, the one that made me giggle with delight was, Mr. Soul Satisfaction, which is a mashup of of two different songs, actually three different songs, a mashup of three different songs. I love that there's a little bit towards the end where you get the Monkees' Valerie in there somehow.
Oh, good.
I love that. So, and Peter Noon sings it. He sounds great too. How did this come about? How did Mr. Soul Satisfaction come about?
Well, I'll start, and Zeke, you can finish it. We came up with this idea. We laid it down. We had this track, and the story, as I tell it anyway, is that we said, you know who would be great? You know who if we could sing it, but you know who would be even cooler if we got Southside Johnny from Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. We
Right.
imagined, or I imagined, his voice fitting that song perfectly. So we sent him a copy. He's kept saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then after half a year, maybe after so many months, it was obvious that like this ain't gonna happen. So then Bob was somewhere on the road, Zeke, and he was at a restaurant. Your turn, Bob.
I
Yeah,
was
pick it
I
up.
was in Chicago. We're playing Beatle Fest, and I went out to dinner and to a really nice restaurant. And I'm out there and looking. I see this guy sitting there. I go, boy, that looks like Peter Noon. So I walked up to his table and I said, "Excuse me, you Peter?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm Bob. I'm with the Weeklings." Oh, I love the Weeklings because he worked with us before. We did Friday in My Mind, and he sang it. And so I said, "Well, we'd be interested in loving to have you help us out on a record." And he says, "Sure, sure." So that's really how we hooked up with him the second time, just by
Very
accident.
nice. Yeah,
And you're right. He did an amazing job. That guy, I don't know how old he is, but
I don't know, but he sounds incredible. He sounds great. Very few
he,
people I know that age can
no,
sound that good.
he's amazing. And
Yeah.
and he
Yeah,
does like 150 dates a year or something
yeah,
crazy.
he sings all the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
So he's actually an inspiration. I mean, I always say that the 9-year-old Glenn inside of me is freaking out that we make records, a couple of records with Herman of Herman's Hermits.
Awesome. Another song I want to touch on, I want to ask about, because there are, it's not all just, high energy hits here. You do have, something that, that I like that was basically a song about loss, which was falling down a flight of stairs. Can you tell me a little bit about how the genesis of that song? Is that about someone specific?
Yeah, yeah. A beautiful young girl from Asbury Park that I knew, and we all knew, and yeah, it was just a sad song. I'm going through this thing, and I think Bob is with me on this, where well, it's really easy to write love songs, or how many love songs do I have in me?
Mhm.
Or there's you fall in love songs, or you're breaking up songs. And at this point in my life, there's other stuff. There's more that I think about, and so that's one of the songs that comes from. Well, let's talk about let's talk about a real experience in my life that's kind of it's very sad, but it's inspiring to get it out. And we worked on that together as we did everything. But yeah, that's like an epitaph to a very sweet, very young girl that passed
Very
away.
nice. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
but it's
great.
really those actually the last two songs you mentioned, All the Cash and Falling Down a Flight of Stairs, are both Glenn's ideas, and I just kind of kibitzed.
I'm sure you did a little more than that. That's great. So, all right. So another song I enjoyed as well was Angeline. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Julian Lennon, his solo work a little bit. Was it inspired at all by Lennon or Julian or John?
I guess it would have been if I ever listened to it, but I didn't. So no, it wasn't. It wasn't inspired by Julian Lennon or really John Lennon for that fact. I don't know. The idea of the song and the chorus of the song came into my head driving back from the studio one night, and I thought Angeline was a beautiful name. Interestingly, that Angelia was the woman that Glenn was writing about on the other song, but that's a complete coincidence too. I just thought it was a beautiful
Right.
name, and nobody had written a song about it yet. So
Oh, that's really cool. Also, I love the way you can take an existing song and sort of almost Beatleize it, like you did with I'm on Fire. It's a rockabilly Beatlesque kind of thing, completely the opposite take of Bruce Springsteen. I love it. I love the fact you can just, I think you could almost do that with any song if you put your mind to it. You could just take it and then turn it into something, a slow song and make it fast and bouncy and all that. It's just, I thought that was really great. But a question here is there's a little snippet of a song called Samson.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering why was that only half a song? Why did only a certain amount get on there and they're like, yeah, it's like we gave up on it. What happened?
Well, I mean, Glenn proposed the idea that we were going to have these what we call interlude songs or interlude pieces, and
Okay.
some of them are little instrumental bits, and so we looked around, and I had that song in my file of song ideas, which I've got a huge file of song ideas that I never finished, and it wasn't supposed to be a finished song. It was supposed to be a little bit, like kind of like what the Beatles did on the White Album. And interestingly, our drummer Joe said, you got to finish that song. It should be on the next record with the whole version of it. And I said, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, no, actually, Bob, I haven't spoken to you about this, but I really like the idea, and it's so hard to do, to break new ground. And, there is this grid that we kind of follow. An album is supposed to have a certain amount of songs. Each song is supposed to be a certain length and so on and so forth. But I'm like, why not?
We didn't do that. We didn't do that.
No, well, that's true. But also, Angeline could be a completed song on the next Weeklings album, for all we know, as could any of these other interludes.
You mean Samson?
Samson.
You mean Samson?
Oh, Samson.
Yeah,
Angeline is complete, I hope. Yeah.
Angeline is the full song. It's all right. We edit. We'll cut this out. No, another song that I really liked, and also probably the hardest rocking song on the album, None of Your Business. It's like the Kinks, except even tougher and harder. And it's a great new sound, I think, for the Weeklings that I haven't heard necessarily on your previous albums. So I think keep up with those. Those are amazing. And the other question, I had like one question specific to Beatles songs, because you attend Beatle Fest, you go to other things with other bands that basically are Beatles tributes as well, all over the world, I'm sure. One thing that I like to ask is, John Lennon famously hated Obla Di Obla Da, famously hated the recording of it. Is there any Beatles songs in their catalog that you just hate to play, or you really don't want to play?
Well,
no.
we don't play those, I guess, right?
I guess we don't play them, but there's almost nothing in the Beatles catalog that I don't love. I mean, I guess our label mates, the Gripweeds, did a great version of, I think it was Inner Light they did.
Yeah.
I would some of those songs that are really wacko, okay, maybe they're not my favorites, but I love what they did with it. I loved what we did with What's the New Mary Jane. I don't know if you've ever heard that one, Aaron.
Yes.
That's a wacky song that it sounds like it has almost no commercial appeal, but Glenn's really good at coming up with ways of doing different songs, and most of the cover ideas are Glenn's originality.
Well, I do like the challenge in a way. We dove into What's the New Mary Jane because it is, I consider it famously the worst piece of garbage that John Lennon ever, did for the Beatles, and almost that maybe. And I saw it as a challenge. It's like, well, is there a way to make this cool? Not to mention, not many people have covered that one. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's pretty. There are certain songs that Beatles do that not too many people cover, or not too many people can cover and make it sound good. I don't know, like, My Name, Look Up the Number is a good example of that.
We worked on that for a while.
We did.
All right, perfect. And I also like the way you sort of can take an original song and sort of just add little what I would call clues or Easter eggs inside a song, like April's Fool, great song, great original song, but you hear little guitar bits from like I'm Down, and I hear a little bit of the solo of Hey Bulldog riff towards the end there. It just, and it matches perfectly. It doesn't sound like it was shoehorned in. It just sounds like it was part of the songwriting process. Just put this, couplet in there, and it's just like awesome. And I love that experimentation and mixing of things with your original music as well. So tell me
Here,
a
let
little
me,
bit about that song.
well, let me just add that. Well, first of all, that song is Bob's work, but I think if we're talking, well, April's Fool, that no, that's pretty much a collaboration, although it's predominantly Bob's project that he brought. But I want to mention our guitar player and our drummer because
Sure.
they are very involved. John Rajavi, also known as Rocky Weekling, is our lead guitarist who really digs in. And when you say, okay, here we need a guitar solo here or something, he he takes it very seriously, and he comes up with a lot of great ideas. Um, and the thing I'm digressing here, but for instance, I'm on Fire. He worked up a solo, like an Eddie Cochran kind of solo, and
Hmm.
then he was home with his recording studio, and he decided, I can add a Jordan Ayers type background vocals to the guitar solo, and we were like, all
That's,
right,
yeah, that's I'm on fire.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
on,
on
yeah,
fire,
Fire,
yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
fire. Yeah.
and he did a great job. He came up with this very novel, this thing that Bob and I might not have ever considered. So, and Joe Belia, the drummer, also known as Smokestack Weekling, he gets involved too. I mean, it is a group effort, and we do these things together. But I will go back to saying "None of Your Business," which I agree. I think that, man, when that song starts, the sound of the guitar and everything, I'm like, I just love it. I think it's like one of the better sounding songs on the album, possibly. And Bob just kind of brought it to the band. And take it away there, Zeke.
Well, that was an easy one because I had a fairly complete demo of the song.
Mm.
So I brought the song. We needed another song for the recording session we were going to enter into, and I brought it in. Glenn said, "Great, that sounds done. Let's move on." That's pretty much what happened.
Wow, it's so easy with you guys. I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
But,
Another.
but I tell you, I will say that John Rajavi was a really big part of getting those guitar sounds for that song, and we were a little bit inspired with the band Blur
Yes.
with their guitar sound, and that's kind of where we were reaching out, kind of a little more modern than the '60s, but but the core of the song, the composition is from the '60s, but the production a little more '90s or O's.
Oh
So.
yeah, definitely. And another question I was going to ask, as a band, you guys have played all kinds of venues everywhere, really, that I can think of. What's the and I'm going to single you out here. What is the coolest venue you guys have played at? Number one. Question two is, often at these events there are other, celebrities and other musicians there watching you guys play and all that stuff. Has anybody other join you on stage, a famous musician join you on stage to play one of the songs that you had? So those are the two questions.
See, Peter Dune.
Yeah.
uh, who's joined us on stage?
Well, I'll say that we played a lot of gigs with Max Weinberg, and
Right.
Hmm.
he learned a couple of songs of ours that we've done. And what in the moment did we do with him?
Little Elvis.
Little Elvis,
I
okay.
love
And
us. Yeah. Oh, great
and
song.
we get a little carried away with the arrangements. It's not always the simplest arrangements. So Max really had to do his homework, and it was good seeing him. He had his chart over on the side. He's reading his chart while he's playing, but he did a good job. And I guess that's another better known person that has performed with us. But the place you were asking about, a venue,
Yeah, the coolest venue
the,
you liked, or the
I'm
venue you
thinking,
thought you were most impressed with.
well, the Schermerhorn in Nashville, it's it almost looks like a church, and maybe it was, I don't know. And the we played with the with players from the Nashville Symphony Orchestra, and the audience went wild, and that was just an unforgettable gig for the Weeklings. I'll say that.
Awesome.
Definitely.
You agree, Bob?
I do. I do. That was a really great venue and performance. But I think you were maybe looking for places that we play more regularly that we really like.
Either one, either one.
I always have trouble with questions like that because every place has got a plus and a minus. I mean, we used to love my favorite used to be Daryl's House Club, and I still love playing there. But since that was had such great production there, they have such great equipment, and it was made it easy, and they have great sound people there. Great, Pete Moshe, who's Daryl Hall's sound guy. He's fantastic, and he helped us out a lot. But there's a lot of New Up Winery I like. What else do we play?
Well, let me throw this in. We did another gig with Max Weinberg in Delray Beach, Florida, and it was thousands and thousands of people that attended, and they went nuts. It was a great night. It felt great, and in that very same space, we're going to play again in a couple of weeks. It's January 27th, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
26th.
Okay, 26.
The Weeklings
Yeah,
and the
you're right.
Beatles on the
Yeah.
beach.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
yeah, we're looking forward to that because that's an outdoor. It's nice and warm in Florida. It's an outdoor venue, and our experience there last time was like, boy, these people really love music. So we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for this interview. Everyone be sure to pick up Raspberry Park. I'll have it on screen there. They can buy oh, you got it even better. You can get that on the Weeklings website as well, right?
My turn.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there we go.
I've got his copy as well.
Um,
Right.
Weeklings.com for tickets and info and records and t-shirts and stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you both so much. I look forward to continuing to see you live, continuing to hear more new music from you guys as you do it. Peace out, man. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.